Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Flow Sub-Only podcast. I'm here with my co-host Ben Moore. How you doing, Ben?
Good. How's it going?
Good. Happy to be back. Today we're going to talk some Flow Sub-Only for the fall main open we got going on. It's going to be October 26th, so we got about just over a month away. Sign-ups are open. Let's dive right in.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Well, what do you want to talk about first?
Let's first I want to just talk about time, date, location. It's going to be the 26th of October. It is going to be at the Oceanside High School, same venue as the last two events. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is, and I think you'll agree with this, I personally, I'm biased obviously, but I feel like it's a perfect first tournament if you have kids interested in competing, or if you're a white belt who wants to see what competition's all about. I feel like it's a great first tournament in that case.
I'd have to agree. I tend to push a lot of our students to either do like your tournament for Nogi as like a great first tournament, or like Tap Kent's Route is another great first tournament, where the level of competition isn't going to be what you find at like a Boston Open. It might be, but most likely not. And the amount of like anxiety that you'll have is definitely going to be a little less. Yes. So I think it's a good just starter tournament. Not that the tournament itself, it's not a reflection of the tournament itself. It's just a reflection of you have a lot more access to matches and experience.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that I think make it good for a first tournament is, one, I'm very accessible leading up to the tournament for people that have questions, and I'll tell you, I answer a lot of them, emails and texts and things like that you almost, as a veteran of jiu-jitsu competitions, it's stuff that you don't even think about. But if it's your first one, there's a lot of things that, if you're not really sure how things work, there's a lot of anxiety towards, well, how does, when does it start? Where do I need to be? Where do I weigh in? How does this all work? And when you got, a little kid competing for the first time, the unknown can be kind of scary. So
definitely can be.
I think just being accessible for them is big. I also think the fact that it's a round robin tournament is really good for, first timers, because maybe that first match anxiety gets the best of them, or the pace or whatever. But once, with a round robin tournament, they're going to get multiple matches regardless of the outcome of any match.
Yeah, more bang for your buck, really.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about rules, the way the matches work, the format, the allowable submissions and stuff like that. I'm just going to touch on a few things, and then obviously anything that stands out to you, feel free to bring up as well. But two of the more recent changes that we've made, I guess it's been changed for a couple opens now, but there was a learning curve at first. This is our 7th open, so it's the main Open 7. So just like any business or any tournament, there's a little bit of learning process. So one of the adjustments we made to the rules, we no longer allow guillotine chokes from standing for the kids divisions. Just a safety thing, mostly. If you're a small kid, if your posture gets broken from that standing position, it's more of a drastic neck crank when they lift your feet off the ground than it's really hard to get the posture back too when you're just a little guy.
Do you mimic any of your rule sets to other tournaments to sort of as a guideline, or do you sort of use that and then go from there?
So what I did initially was I used Grappling Industries. Grappling Industries is kind of is IBJJF based with some changes, and so I kind of used that as a framework, and then I made a couple adjustments from there. I feel like the way that Grappling Industries rules and our rules are designed help make it very straightforward for the ref. I haven't been in the ref shoes at like an IBJJF before, but remembering very quickly what level of people are competing, what's legal, what's not on the fly. That can't be super easy.
Yeah, that's very true.
One of the things I also try to do when I set up matches for the day is I actually do my very best to have from both for the competitor and for the referee. Most competitors, their gi and their no gi will be on the same mat. Not always, but 90% of the time they will be on the same mat with the same ref. And then from the ref side of things, they will almost always be reffing the same belt level on their mat for the entire day. So,
Okay.
mats 4, 5, and 6 might be all white belts, and mat 3 might be all blue belts, and then mat 1 and 2 will be all the advanced divisions or something like that. Just so that as a ref, safe and having fun, we make sure the parents know that. We make sure everybody knows that, once the arm starts to get extended, we're not going to allow full extension and just wait for a tap. So what I found was when you have two little kids and they elect to start in the armbar position,
They're cranking on it.
that arm gets extended within a second and a half from the moment you say go. So it puts the ref in a really awkward position where when do I call it? When do I not? So I think back control just allows more jujitsu, safer jujitsu,
I mean, which is funny, probably from someone who doesn't do jiu-jitsu would think, oh, the neck is like more dangerous just from a layman's person terms. But I would say, yeah, the arm, I'm more afraid of an arm bar than a choke because my elbows are so much more fragile.
Yes.
Then, I can defend the choke, but if you happen to be like really good with that arm bar and my arm just gets stretched out for just that one fraction of a second and that clicks, like, man, that's me taking 3-4 weeks off versus like, oh, I got choked out. All right, whatever. I can come back tomorrow maybe.
Exactly. No, I think, for people that train jiu-jitsu on a regular basis, they understand that. But, parents of kids who, not all parents train by any means. So they sort of know what jiu-jitsu is all about. But yeah, I think little things like that, you kind of have to experience it or have it explained to you.
Yeah.
But I would rather see, kids fight through 30 seconds of overtime from the back than have a 2-second overtime with the arm. And then you're calculating, okay, neither kid tapped. Both of them extended an arm within 2 to 3 seconds. How do we judge this on top of the fact that we stopped it quickly for safety reasons, So
yeah,
I think it was kind of a no-brainer, but it's something that you wouldn't think of until you experience it,
Yep, absolutely.
So you come from a far more gi-oriented path than I did. I started a lot in the gi and then a lot more no gi as of now, but what are your opinions on a couple of the more questionable things? So I do not allow jumping guard at any level.
Any level, okay.
That's not necessarily the norm. If someone jumps guard carefully and they land safely on the mat, I'm probably just going to issue a warning and let things keep going. I'm not going to immediately DQ them, but I don't want to encourage jumping guard by any means. But I want to hear your thoughts on it because it is kind of a debatable thing.
It is funny because it is quite a contentious topic. I know a lot of tournaments, they don't allow white belts, and some tournaments white and blue belts to jump guard. I think that just shows you that those tournaments are watching out for people's safety more than, it's the same thing. The argument of like, why can't we heel hook in the gi in most IBJJF tournaments if you're a black belt? It's like, well, the gi's fabric allows for a lot of tension, a lot of grip, and so when it comes to escaping heel hooks, they argue for safety. A lot of rules are arguing for safety. I think I can agree with both sides. I've seen these blow out with brown belt pulling, jumping guards.
Yep.
And so I've seen the whole gambit of things. I think if you're gonna err on the side of safety, I agree with that. I'm not a full time competitor, so I don't have that drive to be like, oh, allow everything for everybody and just let us figure it out. Yeah, to an extent, but I also think having people come back, 3 weeks later, 3 months later, because it was a safe tournament, I think is a better outcome.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably take out of context what I heard a long time ago, but I feel like I heard J Jack at some point talk about jumping guard and talking about slamming and stuff like that. And what I think if someone jumps guard, even if it's sort of safely, it kind of puts the onus on the guy that's standing up still to carry
Mm-hmm.
the weight of the person who jumped guard
Mm-hmm.
if slams are not allowed.
Yeah,
Right. So I almost feel like if someone jumps at you and wraps their legs around you, you're obligated to carry their weight and you're not even allowed to try to slam them back to the mat. You have to carefully set them down. So
right.
I feel like in a certain way, jumping guard and slams kind of have to go together. Not necessarily, but I just feel like if a guy jumps at you and you're obligated to carry his weight, you should be able to sort of, put him on his back aggressively. And I don't want that either necessarily. So,
Because the onus is both on person that it's being like done to in a
yes.
lot of ways.
Yeah.
Uh, Both slamming and jumping guard. Like we've had a blue belt get DQ'd from grappling industries from slamming, and I'm using air quotes here because you can't see me, but it was because he obviously didn't slam the guy. He actually was still like he was on his way to slowly bring him down. He was still like bent knees, and then the guy fell, and then the referee was like half paying attention, called him for slamming, and I'm like, I don't know if slamming should be allowed, I think, but also like referees paying attention to what actually is slamming and what isn't slamming, and what actually should be allowed or not, depending on the tournaments. Is another topic altogether. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, anytime there's a gray area or something's up for interpretation, you're going to have people on both sides that are upset, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah,
And I feel like slams is one of those things. And in general, yeah, there's advanced divisions and stuff like that, but in general, most of these people that are competing are either kids or they're people that have a regular job, And that's not to say there's not some very, very high level competitors, but there aren't any that I know of that are 100% full time competitors who don't have other obligations.
yeah.
So that kind of skews things a little bit towards let's err on the side of caution. There's plenty of other ways to try to win your match and do jujitsu. Jumping guard is not necessarily, it's not going to win anything, and it could cause horrific injury, and it's not really jujitsu.
Yeah, I would feel bad in a tournament, say in a tournament where anything and everything is legal, slamming, pulling guard, jumping guard, everything on every belt level. I would feel bad to jump guard and have the other person not be ready, buckle his knees, and now we're not doing a match again, and he's out. Like,
Right.
I wouldn't say that's a win. I'd say that's an accidental win. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel good about that.
No.
I'd want to beat him fairly, so like I legitimately beat this person technically, or smashed his guard, whatever it is, teched him with 20 points up, whatever it is. I'd rather do that than like, oh, I jumped guard, his knees buckled. I didn't know his left knee was, injured 6 months ago. Blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah,
And generally speaking, granted, sometimes the internet tends to just show you the most dramatic thing because it generates views, but I've seen so many videos of guys of jumping guard going wrong.
yeah,
And I'm not talking about the traditional guard pull where, you have a collar sleeve and you put the foot in the hip and you pull them down into your guard. That's perfectly fine.
oh yeah,
I'm referring to the full on, I'm going to jump, wrap my legs around you, and it's your responsibility to carry my entire body weight. That's
and your responsibility to put me down.
right. That's probably the biggest problem I have with it. One is safety, and two is the onus is on the standing guy to literally hold your body weight off the ground and carefully set you down.
Yeah, and it's different when like somebody's in close guard, and the top guy wants to then stand up, and the
Right.
bottom guy's like, I'm not going to open my guard. It's like, okay, well now we're in just a one sided, because usually people think jumping guard and slamming are pretty hand in hand, but sometimes somebody can stand up from a closed guard, and now you're only dealing with one half of those two scenarios,
Right.
and now it's the guy on top's, the guy who's standing's, again, ability to not slam and somehow open the guard without exposing and passing and all that stuff. So it's a trickier thing.
Yes. But at least in that scenario, he's chosen to stand up. Like he was
Mm-hmm.
theoretically on his knees already, and he chose to stand up. Now, obviously, standing up is one of the technical ways to start passing close guard, but he chose that, so it's a little more understandable that he has to carry that weight. So, yeah, not a great. I don't know that there's a great answer for it. I just feel like this is probably the easiest way to err on the side of caution for safety. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And then another, I don't want to say point of contention, but another thing that we're in line with all other tournaments, I feel like. But with the white belt division, we allow the straight foot lock. I think that's pretty
Mm-hmm.
standard, even at IBJJF. But starting at intermediate or blue belt, we tend to allow more than the average number of lower body submissions. So the way that our rules work is reaping is allowed at intermediate / blue belt and above.
Mm-hmm.
And then lower body submissions are legal. Knee bar, toe hold, straight foot lock are all legal at blue belt. The only thing that's not legal are slicers and heel hooks. So
Okay.
that, as we all know, the heel hook is generally the most damaging leg lock submission. Not that
Mm-hmm.
they all can be damaging, but
I
I
think
feel
along
like
the chain of muscle groups and ligaments that it's attacking, it might be one of the most damaging.
yes, yeah. I mean, in theory, you can do the same damage with a toe hold potentially, but the braking mechanics I feel like are not as superior as the heel hook braking mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it can, I don't know. I feel like blue belts now, especially competition blue belts, there's a lot of them who are way ahead of how things used to be with lower body submissions. So to totally shut that out of their competition ability, maybe I'm wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like if we allow all the ones that we possibly can safely, then that's what we try to do.
Yeah, I would say it's you're trying to balance the rule set for being entertainment and also safety.
Yeah.
Like, you want a good match, you want people to have a really good, entertaining match, people who are there to watch, to be entertained, but also like the safety of the athletes. And I think that's a good struggle that every organizer has, is that balance.
Well, I also want people to be able to. I want people to be able to use the stuff that they've learned or worked on as soon as possible to a certain extent. Once,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And at white belt, that's just kind of a wild card what you're going to get in that division because people come from so many different backgrounds. But I feel like once you're either intermediate or blue belt level, you should have a fair amount of training and be at least understand what sort of rules are what sort of leg locks are potentially dangerous at least, or be able to implement them. And if you spend a lot of time working legs going up through the process, I don't want to take all that away from you.
True.
There's
True, true,
lots of blue
true.
belts who've been training for 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe they're close to purple belt or something, but that's a big part of the game now that I don't want to completely take that away, but I also want to be as safe as possible.
Yeah. Um, and like leg submissions coming from a point-based jiu-jitsu gym, we don't do a ton of them. Um, we have guys who do them. Don't get me wrong. Like, we have a lot of guys who do compete in the flow sub onlys, to the to the different nogi tournaments, and they are adept at leg locks. They'll get into shootouts with you, no problem. But I think overall, We don't tend to focus on leg submissions as a gym, which I think is okay, because
Yeah.
I think it's the class and the style of, that your gym is teaching and everything. There's a whole lot of different things. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you got to teach your white belts leg locks right away. And I agree with that too. I also don't run the gym, so it's not my curriculum to criticize either. So I'm very happy with where I'm training, but yeah, I can see both sides.
Yeah. No, I agree. At our academy, we have the way that we handle legs, or I handle legs, is if you're a blue belt or above, if I've given you a blue belt that, beyond your technical ability and your physical ability, being a good and safe teammate to everyone, even someone who is, inferior in size and strength and whatever. If I've given you a blue belt by that point, I trust that you're a safe training partner for everyone, right?
For everyone, yeah.
So the way that I do it is once you get to blue belt, you are allowed to do basically the same submissions that you can at the flow sub only, and you can do them to white belts at a safe pace, right? So what that does is it allows white belts to learn what it feels like to try to defend things and realize when they're in danger, not get a free pass, and create bad habits just because they're a white belt. And then as the white belt gets 2 stripes on his white belt, he's allowed to start doing straight footlocks. That sort of gives me enough time once they get their second stripe. That gives me enough time to make sure that they're not a jerk.
Yeah.
So it's really, I want to get them involved in legs early, but I want to make sure that they're a safe human being because, an aggressive leg lock when you don't know what you're doing can be damaging. So
it can be.
A blue belt can apply the leg locks to any white belt, doesn't matter who it is, at a safe pace. They learn defensive tactics, which is great, and then they can apply straight footlocks to anyone at 2 stripes. So is it perfect? No, but I don't know that there's necessarily a perfect way to do it. When you have in a perfect world, you'd have multiple classes with all different levels and,
Yeah, you'd have like 40 blue belts, 40 white belts.
Right.
They all progress in the way that exactly you want them to. But, when you're in, not even Rockland, but even if you're in Westbrook, Portland, Maine, yeah, like you're not getting the amount of people, the amount of variety. So, yeah, you're trying to adapt your curriculum to be best fit everybody.
Yeah. And to take that a step further, if you're a blue belt or a purple belt trying to learn this new entry into some leg entanglement, who better to practice it on with resistance than a white belt who doesn't already know every single way to defend what you're trying to learn? You know what I mean?
Very true.
A blue belt, they're like, I want to, do this whatever switch into a toe hold, and the black belt sees it a mile away. He's like, I'm not going to let you do that. You never get a chance to practice. But you might have gotten 10 reps against a few different white belts in the room. And what's the typical blue belt? Probably if he does, say, 7 or 8 rolls in an average sized academy, he might roll once with a black belt, once with a purple belt, 4 times with a blue belt, and 3 times with a white belt, right? So if you don't allow that against lower belts and you can only practice it, there's much less time to practice it too. So,
Yeah, you tend to, I think the more, I do think that there's a subject of the more adept you are at things above your belt level. You don't have to be expert, but being knowledgeable about it means when you get to that belt level, you're not going to get injured potentially when you go out there and start to counter people who have been doing them forever.
Right. And as far as the straight footlock is concerned, I mean, you could be a 6-month athletic white belt and decide you want to compete. And if you haven't had anyone in your gym ever try to do a footlock on you because you're a white belt, then you might be in big trouble when you go to compete.
It's kind of like, I remember I think I got my brown belt, and Alexi tried a footlock on me once, and it was either a little bit into brown belt or fresh black belt. I can't remember. And we don't work a ton of leg stuff. So he's trying to do a straight foot lock. I go over the leg, I defend it, and I just made a quip of like, which you should never make any, by the way. If you have a Brazilian instructor with many, many stripes in his black belt, like Alexi, do not make mid-round comments like, see, I know a little bit of leg locks. And then he looks at me and goes, oh, really? And then within 6 minutes, footlocked me as many times as he physically could. And I'm like, I know nothing about footlocks. Thank you so much for reminding me. I will never say that again.
Oh, shoot. That's funny.
I laughed about it, and I still laugh about it. I think it's hilarious. But yeah, this is. And he did show me like, hey, we don't work leg locks. That doesn't mean I don't know them. It doesn't mean I can't show you them. But don't say that you know them.
Right.
Everybody has something to learn at all times.
Yeah. What's the saying? Like, I've forgotten more than you can than you know.
Than you'll ever know.
Yeah.
Oh, he's absolutely forgotten more than I'll ever know.
It's funny because I haven't been training anywhere near as long as Alexei, but there's plenty of things that I learned and used to use on a daily basis for a few years that I haven't done in 5 years, and it's interesting how there's only so many things you can do in a roll. Like you might pick things up and put them down and not touch on them for years,
It's almost like some things trigger those memories too. Like all of a sudden somebody does a certain pass or a certain way that they do guard, and you're like, oh, I used to do this one thing for like the longest time and I forgot until you just did that.
Yeah.
And exactly. Now I remembered how to do it.
Exactly.
I think that's the funniest thing. Like I had a butterfly guard phase of my life for the longest time, and then all of a sudden somebody did something and I went right back into it. And I'm like, I think I might bring back that bullshit,
Yeah.
And all the white belts are going to be like, wait, you're really good at butterfly guard. And I'm like, oh, you don't remember when I did it for like 3 years straight.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even just, I feel like I've had conversations with students before who feel like they're in a rut or not progressing. And I ask them, what are you working on right now? And they might have a good answer, or they might say, I'm just rolling, I'm just training.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you kind of you should always be working on something, but also if you feel like you're starting to get in a rut with your rolls where they start to kind of go through the same sequence, then sort of like turn everything on its head. If you tend to start from top position and work guard passing every time you roll, like make yourself play guard, even against guys bigger, more, more talented, whatever. Like completely mix it up. If you're the type of guy that goes for legs, take that off the table and force yourself to pass and only go for upper body submissions or, whatever that might be. But you gotta broaden things out as much as humanly possible for a long
Absolutely.
time.
If you were to go to our gym and encounter, and this would be the time to encounter him because he does have a summer job, and so in the winter time he's a little more at the gym. But his name's Chappie, and he's short, stocky, me, but just jacked, like super big and jacked, and like another like 40 pounds of muscle kind of thing, wide. And Alexi made him play bottom for the longest time, like up until purple belt maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And he has the most dangerous lasso I've ever seen.
Yeah,
because his legs are like the size of my torso, and he's like got these flexible hips because Alexi made him play guard. So all of a sudden he adapted his hips to be this super flexible guard with a super, stocky, strong guy that you never would have expected. And so now the body type doesn't match what you think he should be doing. And then so he's catching you with stuff, and you're like, my brain can't figure out what to do because I know how to counter like, athletic people doing spider lasso, long people doing spider lasso, not like 5 foot, 5'7". I don't know how tall Chappie is. Chappie, I'm sorry if you're listening to this, but like, and his leg comes out of nowhere, and I'm like, what? Where did that come from?
Yeah. Well, and also I'm sure that he learned lasso from Alexei, and I have to imagine Alexei's lasso guard is phenomenal. So.
Oh yeah, his leg comes out of nowhere too.
Right.
So
yeah.
You're just casually playing guard, and he'll just be like, "Here's a lasso," and you're like, "Okay, I guess I'm going nowhere."
So one thing I wanted to touch on just super quick before we move on is with regards to the tournament is the division types that we have. Like we mentioned earlier, this is a really good first tournament. Not to say there's not incredibly high level people as well, which we'll get into the rankings in a little bit. But if someone is brand new to jiu-jitsu, not like one weekend, but they're ready to do their first tournament. Maybe they're 6 months in, maybe they're a year in, and they really want to try a tournament for the first time. This is, I feel like, the spot to do that.
Yeah.
So as far as kids training goes, we keep it simple with both kids and adults. Kids have 3 divisions: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Beginner, I have it listed as less than a year of grappling or a first-time competitor. Intermediate, I have 1 to 2.5 years of grappling, or they've already won the beginner competition. So
Okay.
if you did beginner 6 months into your training and you won, and now you're competing, and it's not quite a year yet to make you intermediate, but you already won beginner, you should step up.
I agree.
And then advanced is 2.5 years plus training, or you've won multiple intermediate competitions.
Right.
I feel like people know where they should be, but not everyone. Sandbagging is real. I'll put it that way.
It sure is. Yeah, I'd say you would know, and it's kind of on them in a lot of ways to tell the truth. But yeah, it's with smooth comp. I think you have a better way to prove if people have competed as much as they told you.
Yes.
That's a great thing too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's I understand that as far as belts go, that different schools have different criteria, and some even use different belt systems. At our academy, we just use the IBJJF system, but there are some other pretty popular belt systems out there for kids, and the guidelines that different schools use might be more aggressive, less aggressive, whatever. So I try to just simply go by years of training and prior competition performance.
Right.
Because there's some savage gray belt kids out there, and then and then there's other kids who are a yellow belt or an orange belt, and they know a lot, but they're not. Their personality doesn't allow them to perform well, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I like when instructors use their best judgment as to where their kids should be, because you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I just want close, fair matches, and I want everybody to have a good time. That's really what matters, and I want them to be safe.
Yeah, I think safety is a through line in everything we're talking about.
Yeah. As far as women's and men's divisions go, women's gi and no gi, we kind of kept it the same theme: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So beginner being white belt, intermediate being blue belt, and then advanced being purple and above. I'll be the first to say that's not ideal, but it's kind of a must based on the amount of high level women that tend to compete in Maine or in New England. What I tend to do with that, if you are, let's say you're a female purple belt and a brown or black belt signs up as well, sure, you'll fight them. But if 3 purple belts were to sign up and 1 black belt, I probably would also make an extra division that just had the purple belts all together, just kind of give them a chance to be on their own, So I
think that it gives them a better, entertaining fight for themselves.
Right. Yeah. And then as far as men's divisions go, it's kind of a similar thing. I mean, obviously there's a few more high level males that compete, but gi and no gi, same thing: beginner white belt, intermediate blue belt, advanced purple, brown, and black belt. Sometimes I tend, depending on who signed up and what weights and things like that, if at a certain weight class there's only one blue belt that's signed up, and there happens to be a purple belt in that exact same weight class who's also alone, I might put them 2 together, but I would speak with them first, just to see if that's interests them. So purple belt's kind of like the wild card in the middle, where
they can go up or down.
Yeah. But I feel like a lot of purple belts nowadays have a lot of jiu-jitsu under their belt, and
I think the access to training, access to information, like I used to say back in the day, like at brown belt, that's when I started to see in the local circuits, at least in the Northeast, of like, I was a competitor um, casually, but I would still have some good matches and have fun and not feel like I was wasting my money until brown belt. And then I started running into people who the joke was either owning gyms or sleeping at gyms. And and I went against
that's
three
good. I have
people
not heard that.
because I mean, at that point, like I'm doing 3 to 5 times a week, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm in good shape, I'm good, I got some jiu-jitsu under my belt, and I got a person that's doing twice a day for 6 years, and I'm like, okay, there's a difference, and now I'm seeing that difference, and it's coming out, and I'm not just I can't just be lucky anymore. Like these guys have worked so hard that luck doesn't matter, and
Yes.
at that point, I'm like, all right, I need to decide if I need to double down or if I step back and kind of become more of a coach. And that was when I started thinking about that. But now you're seeing that at purple belt,
Yeah.
which I think is crazy, but really good for the sport.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, there's a, not to get too far off topic, but there's this conversation that's constantly going around where some like old school gyms, not gyms, but old school instructors are saying that jiu-jitsu is getting watered down. And then there's other places that are like the jiu-jitsu level is higher than ever. And
Mm-hmm.
I think both of those things are true in a certain way. Like
Yeah.
at the average gym that has people who compete on a regular basis and has a reputable instructor, and I feel like the level of jiu-jitsu at those places are higher than ever.
Mm-hmm.
As far as technical ability goes for versus belt level.
I
But
agree.
then the flip side of that is also true, but only in a specific sense where the a lot of the techniques that apply in competition today would be terribly suited for a self-defense situation. So
Okay.
I guess I could see the aspect of, some 150-pound ultra flexible blue belt who likes to invert underneath you and berimbolo and stuff like that. That's a terrible idea for a street fight, but
Right.
amazing for competition jiu-jitsu. So I don't.
What did Chris Howder say? Like he's like think street, practice sport. He categorizes it with like
Yeah,
sport, art, and street. He goes, you think street, you practice sport, and you enjoy the art, or something like
something
that.
like that. Yeah, and he's right. As long as you understand the difference, it's fine. Like, and I still think even the average competition, key inverting blue belt is still going to be fairly proficient at self-defense. Like, would they be as good as a blue belt who only trains at a self-defense school? Probably not. But
Yeah,
they're gonna be far better than an untrained person.
very true. Very true.
Next thing I want to touch on, or actually kind of really dive into as deeply as we have time for, is the top 10 pound for pound rankings for both the male and female flow sub only. So we have the rankings are based on flow sub only, absolute divisions, underground, advanced open divisions, squads, and super fights. And then as a secondary criteria, your performance outside of flow sub only is taken into consideration as well. So,
Okay.
if you compete a lot for flow sub only, that's going to help you. If you also compete at, say, ADCC Opens or Grappling Industries, and I see a lot of success there, that will adjust things as well. But that's kind of like a secondary criteria. These are people who have performed very well at flow sub only and also outside the promotion as well. So
And those sort of the for everybody's information too. I think you're having those caveats of like, people are ranked this way, but also taking into consideration things outside of the competition. I think through the years, you'll have more of a clarity without having to take that into consideration. Like, the flow sub only is still maybe in its teens, you know,
Mm,
it's still maturing, growing, having more competitions per year and more athletes. And I think these, we're going to go into this and go like, oh, this person should be here, or this person is here because of this. I think in like a year or two, we'll be like, clearly that person's there. Clearly that person's there.
right. We
A
just have
little more.
more a larger body of work to pull from.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And as we go down through these are fully up for debate and discussion. Like I want, I want to hear people's thoughts. Feel free to comment if you've got teammates you feel like they're ranked. I don't think if you feel they're ranked too high, you probably won't say anything. But if you feel they're ranked too low, feel free to comment on any social media that you see and shout them out too. Or if someone's not on the list and you feel like you got a valid reason, like, hey, what about so and so? Like, speak up about these. These are up for discussion to a certain extent. Obviously, I feel like we've put a lot of time into making sure that we try to keep track of who's beaten who and who's performed where outside of flow and things like that. So I feel like these are very accurate, but nothing is above discussion by any means.
Fair enough. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk the women's top 10 first. We'll start let's start at the top and then we'll work our way down through and see how that goes. So number 1, I have my student Meg Gleasner from Flow BJJ. I don't believe, granted I'm very biased as I teach her for the most part. I don't think there's really anything, there's really no arguing that. She's active, and I don't believe she's had any losses at Flow Sub only in quite a long time.
I think you're right. I think she's been rather dominant in the flow sub only circuit for the longest time. She's had great matches with people who've really challenged her, like on Bree, all the people that are basically below her in the rank, which is, I think, a show of obviously the coaching, but also the fact that I think she trains pretty well for this rule set as well.
Yes.
Which I think is an example of like when you train for that rule set, you tend to rank higher in those tournaments.
I completely agree. You have to train in the rule set that you intend to compete in. And we spend a lot of time mixing it up too. So, with Meg, if she's doing the flow sub only, we'll be working EBI for the next month. But the moment that that's over, we'll be switching to focusing 100% on IBJJF rule set. So,
Yep.
and preparing for the type of opponents that you're going to see. If she's no-gi brown belt IBJJF, this will be her first year competing at brown belt. So now we have to really focus in on reaping and heel hooks and things like that, which was never a concern before.
Very true. Very true.
Number 2, I'm going to butcher her last name, so I'm actually not even going to say it. Sandy from Titan Athletics. I'm not sure if you're as familiar with her or if you've seen her compete, but another phenomenal female competitor.
I've seen Sandy compete, I think, a couple of times, and she's done really well when I've ever seen her on the mats. I do think I think that's a good choice for number 2. I'd like to see more matches from her. That's just personally. Agreed. I may have missed a lot of the matches that she's competed in the past with.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just personally, I'd love to see more matches with her. Has she faced Meg before?
I believe so, yes. I believe Meg beat her in not this most recent underground open, but I think the one before.
Okay.
Sandy's done a few of the absolute divisions. I'd really like to see her on an underground event against someone like Bree or like Sarah Betancourt from Precision. I think
Sarah.
I think something like that would be really fun, or even like Alyssa Taylor from Evolution. Any of those matches. If any of you guys are interested in those matches, speak up too, because I think that would be a lot of fun.
Honestly, I think that'd be great too. Yeah. Yeah, I think right now Meg's pretty dominant, and either we need somebody to step up from the past, like Bree, Sandy, Haley on anybody, Willow. Willow's not faced Meg. I think that could be a great match.
Yes, that's a good possibility too.
Willow's kind of a, and I'm sort of skipping the line here and telling people, going down the list before we mention them.
That's okay.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of the women's division. I think has a lot of growth in terms of like just putting them together and seeing how some of these matchups work.
Agreed.
Like you look at the men's division, you're like, oh, they've all fought each other once or twice already. The women's division, everybody has seemed to have fought Meg, and then Meg is one, so she's clearly number one in that sense. But then I want to see the women from 2 to 10 really face each other more, and I think that'll solidify those rankings a little more. But also some of these matchups, I'm like, I've never seen those matchups before, and I think that'd be really entertaining.
Agreed. So we sort of touched on it real quick, but number 3 is Bree Power from the Academy. I love watching her compete, first of all, because she's super tough. She's super technical. She has quit.
That competition mindset.
Yes. She even branched out into MMA. I know she has at least one fight, I think 2. But she was very dominant in the highlights I saw. She, at number 3, had an underground match just recently against Sarah Betancourt, who was our number 7 from Precision Jiu-Jitsu. That was an amazing match. If you haven't seen that match, definitely check it out on YouTube. Bree Power versus Sarah Betancourt, because that's a super
great match.
Super good match.
For everybody's information, Bree has a 2-0 record in MMA, so she's won 2 of her fights out of the 2. It looks like she has a confirmed match coming up on October 3rd for the Next Gen 2 CFFC unconfirmed bout of the opponent's unconfirmed, it looks like, but according to Tapology.com.
Okay. And so she's going to be on CFFC?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Not to get off track, but did you just watch that grappling card on CFFC from this past weekend? It was on Saturday.
I did not.
It was good.
I did not. I try to, as somebody who, disclosure for the listeners, I work a lot at night and I work a lot on weekends. So if I have a weekend off, I tend to spend it with my wife.
Good call.
We don't talk about jiu-jitsu. I sometimes don't even train. And this is not negative to her. I'm just like, it's only fair that if I spend so much time away, that when I have free time, we spend it together.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm also not updated on most, like I'm the worst at jiu-jitsu names and, celebrities and things like that. So I try to come in with an open mind when people are like, oh, have you seen this match? I'm like, man, I wish I could. I wish I did. I'll probably watch it today, while I'm working in the background.
Yeah. I like the production quality because it's on UFC Fight Pass, so obviously they do a good job with that. The card lasts, I want to say it's about a 2-hour card, maybe 2.5, which I feel like is kind of a good sweet spot. I try to make our undergrounds just over 2 hours if I can. I feel like that's a good amount of time to watch plenty of jiu-jitsu, but not be stuck somewhere for 5 hours watching matches. All right, so number 4, we have my daughter, Haley Martz. She spent a significant amount of time at number 1, but I moved her down purely due to inactivity in the most recent time. So she has wins over all 3 of the top, including her teammate, but she has wins over Meg, Sandy, Bree. But I just moved her down because of inactivity. And then that's
somebody I'd also love to see against, she's had matches against Bree. I think you said Willow. Yeah, again, like a lot of these, like if you're not number one Meg, I'd love to see you face one another in that ranking just to see
Agreed.
how some of these matchups would go.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to have her on the next underground we do. Get a little creative with when I schedule it and try to make everything line up. Number 5, your teammate on Mazer from Alexi Cruz BJJ. So I put her. She had to be on the rankings first of all, and if someone wanted to try to debate me over it, feel free. She has one match under the Flow Sub Only banner, which was against Meg. Meg won the match, but I have to say, if you have not seen it, it is among the best Flow Sub Only matches we've ever had. It's a 10-minute match plus overtime, so there's a lot of jiu-jitsu there, and it was a great match. So based on that criteria, and then the secondary criteria of performance outside of the promotion, On has had some really impressive. She's done some really impressive things with points rule sets under IBJJF.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
I believe you may know better than I, but I believe she's won worlds at purple belts, and I know she's won
blue and purple, maybe.
Okay.
She placed at brown. I think she placed at purple or brown. I can't remember which. I'd have to ask Alexi because I can't remember which belt she was going to get promoted to, but I remember the day that we had our promotions, she was at Worlds and placed, and Alexi had to tell the class like, well, somebody had to go to Worlds and somebody had to be on the podium today, so they're not here to get their next belt. And I guess you can probably guess who that is. And everybody's like, oh, and he's like, don't tell her.
That's awesome.
So we had 30 people like, we can't tell her.
Yeah. I can't recommend enough if you have not watched that match to watch it. It's a technical, an amazingly technical match. That one, we should probably redo that match at some point because it was great.
It deserves a rematch for sure.
Yeah. And then moving to number 6, we have Willow Crawford, who another person with one match under the Flow Sub Only banner, but very successful outside of the promotion as well. She had a really nice win in her underground match a few months back.
She did. I agree. I think Willow competes a lot outside of the Flow Sub Only, and I feel like she has a lot of potential to come back and perform really well. Because I've seen her perform really well in other tournaments. And we've only seen her once. So again, I feel like she would have great matchups with Haley, with On, with Bree. Very different mindset. When you follow her on Instagram, she's more technical in that sort of. She's in that category of new wave nogi, sort of up and coming competitors that you're seeing more often.
Yep.
That focus on the systems from leg locks, systems from certain positions that are pretty nogi specific. And so I feel like she'll definitely shine better in these tournaments.
I agree. I think this rule set favors her in some ways. In other ways, she clearly is a leg lock submission artist first and foremost. And I feel like sometimes points rule sets hurt those types of players and favor, good passers and things like that. But I also feel like sub only is hugely beneficial for leg lockers because there's no points for passing guard, and a lot of people like Willow or Meg are really successful at entering legs off of being mounted or back takes from north south and things like that. So I think the rule set definitely does favor her.
I think so. I think she'll do really well.
Number 7, we have Sarah Betancourt from Precision Jiu-Jitsu in New Hampshire. We sort of already touched on it, but she had a phenomenal match with Bree, who's ranked number 3. If it's the match I'm remembering, it went to EBI overtime, and it was close enough that I wasn't sure who won based on ride time until, we looked at the stopwatch and announced it. So it was that close between those two. Great match.
Sarah also faced Bree in the Flows of Only Underground 4 as well.
Sarah is also active outside of Flow as well. She does a lot of grappling industry stuff, and I've seen her do a lot of super fights in different tournament brackets as well. So she's definitely is a very active competitor too.
Yeah, I'm seeing her IGC. I'm seeing her at the Z Team Jiu Jitsu. The what's this organization called? The Mikey Z Team again. Yeah, I'm just seeing all these posters on her Instagram wall. So yeah, she's definitely an active competitor.
Her coach or instructor is another person that I would like to get on one of the future undergrounds. So that's something that I want to try to make happen as well. Sean Melanson is her coach.
I would just like Sean Melanson to make a viral video based on security footage at the next Flow Sub Only.
Right.
His stuff is so funny on Instagram if you've never seen it.
Oh, it's great. So number 8, we have Alyssa Taylor. This is another situation which we run into with our women more so than the men, just due to fewer women competing. Alyssa has a super fight loss to Meg, but again, another solid, I believe, purple belt from Evolution Athletics, and spends a lot of time competing. I've seen her at IBJJ, at Grappling Industries. I believe she also, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like she had a super fight at NEF against On as well.
She did. Just before her purple belt, I think it was that super fight against On. It was a good super fight too. Everybody, I shouldn't say everybody. I don't want to paint with broad strokes there, but a lot of people were saying blue belt versus black belt, but the blue belt was versed in more no-gi, versed in fighting in a cage and working off the cage and things like that. And On is more of a point-based jiu-jitsu, and I think On diversified herself a lot by taking that match, and is diversifying herself more by taking Flow Sub Only super fights as well, like with Bree. With Meg. So I think On is getting more well-rounded in that competition sense, which is nice. But yeah, I think Alyssa she competes all the time. Yeah, she's really good.
When I watched the highlights of that match in the cage between Alyssa and On, obviously On won the match, which we know, but one thing I recognized right away was Alyssa did some things really well and looked very comfortable in grappling in a cage. So that's definitely a hats off to their coaching staff there for making sure that she was ready for that type
That's
of
100% Nate Libby right there.
Yeah.
That tough as nails Nate,
Yes, exactly. All right, so last two to round out the bottom, we have Grace Sawyer from the Academy. She's performed well in a couple of opens. Then she also had a super fight against Juliana Thibodeau, and Grace came out on top on that super fight.
She did.
So she's stringing. She's a lower belt level, but she's clearly on the rise as far as competition goes. So I'm excited to see, where she's at the next time we see her competing, whether it's an open or an underground.
Grace is tough.
Yeah.
She's really good coming up right now.
And then for number 10 for the women, we have Juliana Thibodeau from Fort Kent BJJ. She is coming off a nice win at the most recent underground. And she's had some battles with a lot of the people on this list. She's had battles with Grace. She's had battles with Meg many, many times.
Yep.
And there's a couple others that are not on this list that she's had some really fun matches with. But her most recent match was, I believe, either a triangular armbar victory at the Underground 5. So that was bumped her right up into the top 10. So that's good.
I think if you were to rank people by the amount of times that they've competed at flow sub only, Juliana would be right there up with Meg.
Yes.
Like
yes.
she comes in quite a bit, and I'm not trying to also like make fun of her by saying she loses every time, but she definitely comes out there and puts it on the line every time, and there's something to be said about the consistency there.
And she's impressive too because she has absolutely no quit whatsoever.
Oh yeah, she fights hard to the very end.
Very end, yeah. I believe she's a blue belt still, or is. I'm not sure her length of training, but she's a very tough blue belt. And because of the lack of a deep pool of female grapplers to compete against, she always enters the absolute division willingly. And so she's fought against some bigger people. She's fought against Meg, 5 times in the same day before. So hats off to her, gi, no gi, overtime. And she's insanely tough to submit too.
She's tough.
So yeah, definitely warrants the top 10 for sure. And the only reason she comes in at 10 is because Grace at number 9 has a win over her. So other than that, she's super tough.
Yeah, I think she might have a good future by just keep going, keep coming in.
Just it's a lot of times I have students that say, what should I do next? It's like, keep doing what you're doing. Just keep showing up. And it's hard for some people to hear that, but in a lot of cases it's true. It's like you are doing all the correct things. You just need to keep doing them longer,
May not feel like it because you're in the middle of it, but yeah.
Right. All right. So let's dive into our men's pound for pound top 10 to finish out the episode here because we got plenty to talk about. So
we just spent a ton of time on the women's. Let's spend just as much time on the men's.
Exactly. So number 1, we have Sean Yadi Marco from Bergen County BJJ. He is the owner/head instructor. That is one of my teammates indirectly. He's a Tom DeBlas affiliate school as well. Probably one of the most impressive guards that we've seen at Flow Sub only. What are your thoughts on Sean's game?
I've only seen Sean compete in person once, I think. I've seen a bunch of his videos like in the past, and I feel like he's such a high level competitor. And Maxime number 2 is a little bit of a spoiler here, but I think they're perfectly for number 1 and 2, just because they've competed so many times for you and definitely have performed at that level really well. I think Yada Marco, he's just above and beyond, like really good.
Yeah, and he's known for his very impassable guard. He's known for his leg locks, and he's known for his Darce chokes. If you haven't trained with Sean before, we had him. I want to say last year we had him to the academy for a seminar. We went over some really cool stuff, and for his very normal looking 185, 205 frame, he has very long arms, and it makes his Darce chokes are phenomenal, or really any of his 3-point chokes. So,
which underground was that? I can't remember.
So Sean was in our first underground. That was a 16-man tournament for a $1,000 prize, and there was also a first form package as well for the winner. So Sean had a first round match against Tristan Shields, one of your teammates. And then in the second round, I should say, he had a match against another one of your teammates, Nikolai Todorov, who we'll get to on this list as well. And then the finals, basically that set up our 1 and 2 for the rankings, in all honesty. Sean beat Maxim Cote from Homa BJJ in overtime, and that's another great match. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend Sean Yadi Marco versus Maxim Cote as a match to check out on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a great match.
At the Flow Sub only, yeah. Sean's guard is very, very impassable even at the highest levels. I watched him at I want to say the Boston Open in the spring at IBJJF, and he had a match against David Garmo, who was a notoriously high level competitor, guard passer, and it was 15 minutes of him just being in Sean's guard. He couldn't pass for 15 minutes. Garmo
That sounds
won.
like the finals of CGI right there.
Right, exactly. Garmo won, I believe, via decision. It was like a 0-0, no advantages type of thing, just due to some, more aggression as the top player. But Sean's guards it holds up even at a very high level.
Mm.
So number 2, we have Maxim Cote from Homa BJJ. I have plenty to say about him, but let's hear some of your thoughts and what you've seen from him so far.
I don't know Maxim as much as I do Sean. I know they're both out of state, super high level guys that come into the Flow Sub only and just wreak havoc on our local guys. So it's it's funny because like the rest of the people I know pretty well personally, because they're Maine grown athletes, a lot of them, and or at least Maine living athletes. And so Maxim and Sean are both athletes that are number 1 and 2 in the ranking, but both people I don't know super personally, but you've seen just wipe the floor with people.
Yeah. So Maxim, Homa BJJ is it's in Montreal.
Okay.
And based on timing, when Flow Sub only came to fruition, whether it was due to COVID or before COVID or whatever, or I guess it was shortly after, jiu-jitsu competitions were banned in Canada. And so what would happen is we'd have a lot of the Canadian teams would drive down to Maine for jiu-jitsu competitions, including Maxim and a bunch of his teammates. And so that sort of naturally gravitated him down here. The very, very first event we ever did, the Flow Sub only Open, number 1, Maxim won the absolute in that. Mm-hmm. And I had at that point, I had no idea. He beat my good friend Brian James from Atlanta in the finals of that. And that surprised me because I know how good Brian is. But I didn't know who Maxim was at the time. And then when you start reading about Maxim, you start to piece it together a little bit. But the Homa BJJ Academy, I've talked to their coach before, who's a super nice guy. I told him, where are you getting all these incredibly high level guys? Like, it's like a factory. And he's like, well, my jiu-jitsu academy is across the street from the Judo National Olympic Training Center.
Okay.
So Maxim is on the Canadian Judo National team.
That's hilarious.
As well as a bunch of other guys that had come down and competed at various events. So Maxim has won the absolute division. He was a member of the Homa BJJ squads team. The Homa team fought our team, as well as the academy. We did a tournament there. Maxim won both of his matches, both against Flow and against the academy. And then he ran through, I don't want to say ran through, he beat everybody in the bracket for the underground, and then lost in the overtime in the finals to Sean. So definitely a solid number 2. I think he is now fighting pro MMA as well. So
Oh
He's
wow. Okay.
definitely his ceiling is very high, and he's still young. I see him at Worlds every time I go. He's competing at, I think he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, so he's competing at brown belt Worlds, and very
No
active,
slouch.
solid
No
competitor.
slouch. Yeah.
Yeah. He posts some great judo quick techniques on Instagram as well, so definitely check him out. Um, he's got phenomenal foot sweeps and overhook game from, basically he's converted his very incredible judo game to nogi, which is also scary.
Speaking about foot sweeps, number three.
Yes. Mark Jack from the Academy comes from J Jack, and J Jack's foot sweeps are a whole nother level, by the way, too.
If you go to the Academy's Instagram page, there's a couple of compilations that they would do of just Mark foot sweeping the ever loving bejesus out of his teammates. And it doesn't help that he's number one, his instructor is Jay. Number two, he's incredibly tall and incredibly good at jujitsu. And so when
Yes.
you think about it, it's just he is built for it in a lot of ways,
Mm,
in many aspects.
yes. And Mark is a solid number three. He has, I want to say, two razor thin losses to Maxim on his resume, and that's the only
Mm-hmm.
reason he's not sitting at number two. Mark is one, he's an amazing human being, super nice guy, nicest guy you'll ever meet. But he is so tough and has no quit whatsoever.
Nope. It's that's him, but also him being a student of J Jack. I think that's a combination of he would be that anyway, but he would be that 10 times over because he grew up at the academy.
I completely agree. Yes, he all of Jay's students have been phenomenal at the opens and undergrounds, both in performance and in just simply being kind, good people. They're
Mm,
it's a great group for sure.
absolutely. They're great competitors, also very respectful.
And so Mark has he's slotted under the Yadi Marco Cote 1-2, but the gap is not very big. Like it's razor thin between Maxim and Mark. They're both tough, and that's a match I would love to see again too.
Mm-hmm.
Is Maxim versus Mark, given that Mark is spending some time in Austin, Texas right now. So it would be interesting to see coming back from that, having a match and see where that went. That would be a fun one.
Absolutely, because you know that Maxim hasn't stopped training, and as you said, has other aspects and aspirations outside of jujitsu that's making his jujitsu better. But also, Mark is just laser focused on being a better competitor over the last year, being in Texas, and just leveling up his game. So I want to see Mark come back and sort of show us what he's been doing in Texas.
Exactly. Number 4 on the list, we have Michael Sear from, I have listed here, Team Morier Biddeford. I believe he's still at that academy, but I know he cross trains at a couple other places as well. Another
Yes,
guy,
correct.
great human being, probably the most physically imposing guy on the entire list.
Yeah, it doesn't help that he wrestled in college, pretty much his whole life leading up to college, and then did, I think, a little bit of football in college as well. So he's got the size, the explosivity, the natural athleticism. Um, he's also a physical trainer. He's got his doctorates or master's in physical training. I apologize, Mike, if you're listening to this. I don't know it off the top of my head. Mike is just a really talented person at his job, and his job translates knowledge wise into jujitsu really well. So he learned jujitsu very quickly. Because I want to say he called me one day during the pandemic, and he's like, "I'm moving back up to Maine. I want to train." And I'm like, "Yeah, here's a bunch of gyms. Here's the ones in your area, because I know where he lives. We went to high school together." And he decided to go with Team Herrera with Brooks over there, which is great. And he just jumped, you know, he basically jumped and skipped a few rungs in that ladder in terms of like climbing the ranks of the jiu-jitsu belt system pretty quickly. But also, if you roll with him, he definitely earned it.
Mm,
He's tough.
yeah. for sure. He's had some battles with both the person ahead of him on the list, Mark, that we just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
and the person just below, number 5 on the list, Nikolai Todorov from your academy.
Mm-hmm.
He had a phenomenal match with Michael Cyr as well. That's another one to definitely check out.
Similar styles, both kind of wrestling and style, but very like seasoned competitors. Like they can both go through 20 matches a day because that's kind of how they were raised in the wrestling world. But they have a pace that I think they both complement and contrast each other pretty well.
Yes.
I think Mike just has more size on Nikolai.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if they faced each other again today, it'd be another great entertaining match. Like that would be razor thin.
Yes. And you're talking, I'm not calling this exact here, but you're probably talking Nikolai at 195 to 205 and Cyr at 235 to 245. So, 40-ish pounds difference, but they both have a very similar like build. Cyr is just bigger. And like you said, similar style, similar wrestling based game, positional based game. Yeah, that's a match that, based on how the first one went, would be great to see again for sure.
I think that's one thing to bring up too is what you're seeing with the rankings right now is the like a mixture of different styles in some of these like top 10 people. It's not just wrestlers, it's not just leg lockers, it's kind of a mixture of, Henry Clark's a weird like funky jiu-jitsu versus some of the more leg locking people versus the more wrestling people like Mike Cyr. So I feel like you're seeing a good mixture of people really kind of representing the top 3, top 10.
Yeah, I agree. And before we go to number 6, one thing to say about Nikolai is Nikolai, along with Meg, is probably the 2 most active flow sub only competitors that we have. It seems like they're always at every event in some form, whether it's an open or an underground. So, and they always step up. They always win or lose, which is typically win for both of them, obviously because of their rank. But win or lose, they put on an amazing effort, an amazing show when they come to fight. You know what I mean? They're not they're not just gonna try to edge out a points victory. They're gonna make it's gonna be exciting.
It's gonna be good. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Number 6 on our list is Rory Connors from Connors Martial Arts, and this is another one where kind of the opposite of Nikolai, where we've only seen him in one of our big tournaments, which was our cash tournament at 170 pounds. Rory basically dominated that entire tournament. I believe he beat Henry Clark in the finals. And Rory, despite that being a 170-pound tournament, Rory's a natural 155er.
He is.
So when you've got someone like Clark who's probably cutting 10 pounds or so to get to 170, and Rory's really a 155 guy, there was a size mismatch there, but Rory's jiu-jitsu is just phenomenal.
I agree. Yeah, Rory's jiu-jitsu is really good and showcases itself best at like a submission only.
Yeah. That being said, he's had incredible success at IBJJF as well. I haven't watched the matches. I just see the top of the podium after top of the podium at some of that stuff. So I think he's well versed in all rule sets. Just a well-rounded, jiu-jitsu practitioner for sure.
I agree. Yeah, he's been doing really good.
And then number 7, we have newcomer to the rankings. Was just added based on this most recent underground. Brennan Kitchen from Titan Athletics.
Yeah.
So for some people, this probably just came out of nowhere. He steps in for a championship match, and everybody's just like, well, who's this guy? He's just kind of filling in or whatever. But he had an incredible run in one of our recent Absolute Opens. I believe the last Absolute or the one before, and made it I believe, to the finals. And that was unexpected, right? And
Mm.
so he specifically messaged me. Sorry to air this out, Brennan, but he specifically messaged me looking to fight Rory
Okay.
at 170 because Brennan is a natural 170, and so I asked Rory, and obviously it's a long trip for Rory, so he wasn't able to make it. So he's like, well, then I'll fight the 185 champ. I'm like, all right, well, let me see if Henry wants to fight. I need somebody to fight him anyway, so let's see what we can do. And Henry was all about it, so we put
Henry's a
that.
great sport.
He is, yeah. And so we put that match together, and Brennan, he just got into this chain very quickly. He got into this offensive sequence that it was just too much for Clark, and he got in deep on a leg entry fairly quickly. And I don't want to say shocked the world, but he definitely was probably the underdog in a lot of people's minds that don't realize
Yeah.
how hard he's been training.
I mean, he shocked me.
Yeah. So
Henry's tough.
Henry's very tough. And, going into this, my thought was Henry is really, really hard to submit. I've watched Henry fight against Nikolai and Mike Murray and Rory. In a lot of those cases, it went to overtime. So in some of the absolute divisions, same thing. He's just proven to be hard to finish. And Brennan was, I'd say a minute and a half into the match, he just got into the sequence that he got the leg entry and Clark had to tap. So solid match. Brennan's the 185 champ. I'm sure he'd love to defend it as soon as possible. So we're gonna announce next Underground who he's gonna go against. We'll keep that one under wraps.
I'd love to see him face Henry again, honestly, just to see that, to run it back, because Henry's such a goofy fighter and so fun to watch.
Honestly, I'd like to see him fight anyone from 5 to 10 on this list. I think Brennan would be fun against Nikolai. I think that match with Rory that he originally wanted would be a good one, especially given the performance Brennan just had. A rematch with Clark would be great. A match with Mike Murray would be great. So really, there's a lot of potential fun options there given his style.
He's got a fun style, for sure.
And then number 8 on the list, speaking of fun styles, Henry Clark from Team Recon. I don't know how to describe his style of jiu-jitsu. I haven't figured it out yet. Maybe you can do that.
He'll let you pass just to submit you kind of style. Like if you're listening to this, he's that goofy. Who he reminds me of? Is it Jeff Glover back in the day?
Yeah, I could see that.
Kind of a Jeff Glover style. Like, I think if Henry had a more budget for a wardrobe, he would definitely look more like Jeff Glover on the mats competing, like a matching, set of rash guard spats kind of thing. But Henry's just so goofy and fun to watch, and if you know him personally, that's kind of his personality. So I think Henry's also fought a lot of MMA in the past. I don't know his record off the top of my head, but he's had a careered sort of fighting history there. And if you look at it, his like MMA past, I want to say he's fought maybe 5 times. I mean, I could probably use the internet right now to help me, but I'd say seeing him compete more now in grappling is making me happy because I knew he was a great grappler. And coming back into that competition scene a couple of years ago is sort of, I think, showing everybody else how good he is.
So I haven't seen any of his MMA matches, which I'm sure you have. What's his stylistically? What does he do in an MMA fight? Because what he does in jiu-jitsu would not work in MMA.
So Henry Clark, his amateur MMA record is 6-5-0, so 6 wins, 5 losses.
Okay.
Fights out of the Chait Institute. When he was doing MMA, now he grapples under Recon. So the Chait Institute was very striking forward. I mean, he did do a lot of jiu-jitsu in his MMA matches, but he was definitely more striking forward back in the day.
Okay.
He was an MMA fighter, and that's, I think, a highlight of Chait Institute itself. Like, they were very classic American kickboxing, Taekwondo sort of style of striking. So Maybe that translated into his unorthodoxy of jiu-jitsu, but um, I just know, yeah, Henry's had a careered martial arts history.
Gotcha.
That's kind of fun to watch and pay attention to.
Nice. And speaking of wardrobe budgets, next on the list, I'm
Mike Murray.
assuming he's sponsored or he's got a endless amount of wardrobe budget, but I gotta believe they're they're sponsored. Mike Murray from Black Bear BJJ.
Man, I love Mike Murray, man. He's so fun to watch,
He
and he's
is.
such a gentleman.
Yep. One of he definitely along in a similar way to Nikolai. He puts on a show jiu-jitsu wise, but he also likes to put on a show just in general too, which I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
a lot of the fans appreciate. I don't.
very entertaining.
I know you were behind the camera for the most recent Underground, but I wish we had a camera directly on him just before his match when he pulled off his breakaway teal and pink wind pants just before he stepped on the mat in like this amazing fashion. If anybody has video of that, please send it to me so we can add it to a phenomenal reel because it was
He
great.
might have a video of that. And to even top that off, he had the breakaway wind pants that were also ridiculously colored to then reveal an OnlyFans matching top and bottom.
That's right.
So I think BJJ Sesh was the. I'm looking at his post now. I think BJJ Sesh, SESH, was the company that sponsored him that fight for the both shorts and the rash guard. And it was just hilarious because like he's just like, I don't care, let's go breakaway OnlyFans rash guard, like creating that vibe in the room. Everybody's having fun already. It's great.
Exactly. And he's got he's got another rash guard that he's worn it a few times, and I need to. He's gonna sell me one. I need to go buy one, but he's got a rash guard that at first glance, if you look at it, it looks like an 80cc rash guard. It's black with the red 80cc style lettering, but it says ADHD instead of ADCC. It's great.
That's so funny.
So just as a little bit of a teaser, we're going to be recording a podcast episode very soon with Mike Murray as our first competitor guest.
Oh, I love that.
Just spoke to him yesterday or the day before, so that's going to be definitely keep your eyes out for that one because I have a feeling that will be incredibly entertaining.
Yeah, Mike's a character. He's great. I want to see him climb the ranks more and compete more. He's just hungry for more competitions. Obviously, it's pending him being a dad and a full-time job and everything, but I think he's got some good potential coming up.
Agreed. Yeah. And honestly, his ranking on the list could certainly have been higher. He was one of the ones I debated probably the most because he's had some pretty solid performances lately. So
yeah,
being at number 9 on the list, in all honesty, there's a couple caveats to that because he's won his most recent super fight against James Coyler from Titan, who's a very tough competitor, who was already 1-0 in Underground until he faced Mike. Mike Murray won the most recent Absolute division at the last Open. So when you hear those two things, 9 seems very low. But we ran into a situation where he has a loss to number 8, Henry Clark. Henry has a loss to number 7, Brennan, who just won. Rory has been solid. He's basically undefeated under the Flow Sub Only banner, and couple that with winning some very high level stuff outside. So that kind of 6, 7, 8 puts Mike Murray in a tough spot. In theory, could he be a little higher? Maybe, but I think he needs to snag a win against someone like Brendan or Henry or Nikolai to kind of jump back up in the list.
I think Mike could, honestly.
Absolutely.
I can see him having a good match with Brennan, and I can see him having a good match with Rory.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're evenly matched. I think Nikolai and Nikolai and Sear have a pace that I hope Mike can take. I don't think I've seen them. No, I've seen Mike go up against Sear, I think, and Nikolai for sure. Yeah, and McGee actually too with Nikolai.
Yes. And that's not a that's a close match too. Mike and Nikolai is not
It was, yeah,
one sided by any means, gi or no gi. So I think that's something I would like to see in the future. Mike is a guy
yeah.
who I would love to see against Brennan. I'd love to
Mm-hmm.
see against Nikolai. But also he's 1-1 against Henry. So
Mm-hmm.
Clark Murray 3 is not out of the question either at some point.
That's also true. Um, Talk about Nikolai and Mike. They're like belt for belt, same weight. Just different styles.
Yeah.
Like Nikolai's more wrestling, more pressure. I think Mike's more traditional jiu-jitsu style. So yeah,
I feel like Mike is more naturally a 185 guy, and Nikolai he
cuts
can
down.
cuts down to 185. Yeah, I think if
Mm,
if we were talking MMA, I'm sure Mike would cut down to like 170,
yeah, yeah.
probably. But
I've seen him do it. I've seen him do it.
yeah,
He can do it.
yeah,
Um, the thing with Nikolai too, he injured his knee a bunch of years back, and he's a menace to our gym. Like he is really good to roll with in our gym. He's one of the higher level competitors. Everybody knows he's really good in our gym, and he got injured, and he came back, and he just decided, oh, I'm not going to cut back to what I was. Like I gained a bunch of weight when I was off the mats. I'm just going to grapple here, and he got his cardio back, and now he's like 205, just still menacing. And it's just annoying because I'm like, man, even heavier, you're not slower. You're still as fast. This is so annoying to every one of us in the gym.
Mike. Mike is another guy who has a history of MMA as well.
Sure.
He's four
Mike
and
Murray
two,
does.
4-2 as an amateur under NEF, and then he went pro as well. And he's fought 3 pro matches under the NEF banner. One was 2 of them were MMA, and one was a grappling in a cage. In this most
Mm-hmm.
recent one earlier this year, so he's
Yep.
2-1 as a pro under the NAF banner as well. So that's pretty cool.
I believe if you attend an NEF fight, Mike will be doing some of the commentary in the ring as well between matches and announcing fighters.
Yes.
So yeah, he's embedded himself for sure in the New England fight MMA grapple scene. I think Mike's both personality and a really good competitor.
Yes. Completely agree. And then final spot on the male list to close us out, probably the least known name on the list, but very, very warranted of the spot, despite there being a few people left off the list, is Roger Santos from a school called Back to Basics.
Mm.
And Roger Santos won, I believe it was the Underground 3 tournament. That was so the first Underground was Sean Yadi Marco was our winner,
Mm-hmm.
and that was obviously a dominant performance. And we have the Underground 2, I believe, was Rory, and then the Underground 3, or I may have that backwards. The Underground, yes, Underground 3 was Roger Santos. So let me just run off the list of people who were in that bracket, because it was a wide range. So
It was.
Danny Buto was in that bracket, and he's proven to be tough as nails in MMA and jiu-jitsu.
I think Danny's got a great future too.
Don Hutchins, who's super solid blue belt from the Foundry. James
Mm-hmm.
Longo from 3 Points. He has had multiple great matches against Don too, by the way. Definitely worth checking those guys out. Not black belts, but very talented 155 competitors. We had John Harris from Evolution, Max Greenberg, one of our TDBJJ affiliates in New Jersey from Montgomery BJJ, Richard Trenum from Young's, Roger Santos from Back to Basics, and Travis, his name is interesting, Slady from Central Combat Sports. And going in, I always have a little bit of my, my thoughts ahead of time. I tend to keep them to myself, but I had Travis winning that tournament, or Max Greenberg. Travis has competed a lot in sub-only rule sets, like finishers and other, big sub-only type promotions. He's a black belt, and he's super, super tough. He was cutting to 155. So it seemed like, the consensus, he's the only black belt in the division. And so I kind of figured, all right, that's going to be that, and,
Yeah.
he won his first 2 matches pretty decisively. He beat Richard Trenum first in about a minute, I would say. And then he beat Danny Butow by submission as well. So 2 solid matches. And then going through on the other side of the bracket, Roger Santos beat James Longo, which... Those are, you have your high seed versus low seed. Those first round wins were kind of to be expected in a certain way, but second round was Roger against Max Greenberg. Max Greenberg won the first round with a 26-second, I believe it was a buggy choke. Max was the smallest competitor in the tournament. I think he weighed in at like 132.
Yeah, he was pretty small.
He
did pretty well, but he was pretty small.
Yeah. So second round was Roger against Max. Roger won that pretty quickly, minute 12. That was a fun match too. So that set up Travis against Roger in the finals, and I was picturing, both of these guys. I didn't know a lot about Roger going into it, other than seeing his first 2 performances and thinking, wow, he looks good, right? And then he beat Travis in the finals. Great match, won by submission. Definitely more than enough to vault him into the number 10 spot. Definitely want to see him back in another match. I think he would be a great one to fight any of the 155 guys. He's a fun, exciting competitor.
Yeah, it's good to have some excitement, not just like somebody who smashes passes tomorrow's like the old 35 plus guys like me.
So honorable mentions, if you've got any that are not in the top 10, for guys, there's a couple guys that we've touched on already. That's a little debatable, but it's definitely very tough to crack the top 10 for this men's pound for pound. But we've got guys like Sam McHale, who is not in the top 10. He's been pretty active with super fights and things like that. We've got Danny Butow, who's tough as nails. He just has kind of come up short a couple times, but he's game, to fight the highest level guys anytime there's opportunity, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I do think Austin Miller.
Yes, agreed.
I'm a big little bias there. He's one of my teammates, but yeah, I think he's put in a lot of work. During the summer he disappears being a chef, but then once fall happens, he's back on the mats grinding it out. And I think he's preparing for Pans right now. And I think he should be doing the Flow Sub-Only Open right after that.
Agreed.
He should be in tip-top shape, preparing for Pans.
Yeah, he would be a candidate to definitely make some noise in the absolute division or the black belt, advanced no-gi division.
I think so.
I think with a win or two, it would be hard to not keep him or not put him in the top 10.
Yeah,
because he has an underground win over another tough competitor, and it was very, very dominant too.
Mm-hmm. I
agree. I think he definitely has the ability to end up on the list within the next competition or two, depending on performances. And I also think he would be a fun match for a lot of people on this list. I think he would be a fun match against Mike Murray. or Henry Clark potentially.
Mm.
Austin, what weight is he fighting at for IBJJF? Do you know?
I want to say it's 185.
Okay.
So I think he'll be a pretty good. Honestly, he also competes with, well, like trains with. He trains with Henry Clark quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
So I would say in a competition sense, he would know Henry Clark's game, and I'm not trying to trash talk either one of them, but I would say Austin might have Henry Clark's number. In terms of Nikolai, it's 50-50. Or Henry Clark might surprise me, but I think between the two, in a competitive sense, not in a like we're rolling for fun at the gym, I think Austin might take that potentially.
Yeah.
Nikolai, I think it's a 50-50 coin toss if Nikolai wants to come down to 185 against Austin. I think Mike Murray at 185. I think Austin has a good chance against him, or at least it'll be a good match. Brennan, that's a wild card. Who knows?
Yep.
Michael Sears, tough in about 100. Not 100, but I want to say 100 if you look at him.
Right.
But yeah, he's got quite a bit of weight on Austin.
Yep.
So that'll be a fun match, but obviously a little bit of a weight discrepancy.
Yeah. And Mark would be a fun match too for Austin. And Mark is a lot to handle. So that would be.
They're both lanky.
Yeah. Yeah. So that might be fun too. And there's others not on the list. There's a lot of 185 is a deep division.
Yeah,
so
it is.
There's a lot of potential options. There's also a lot of I would say intermediate level 185ers that are on their way up.
Yeah.
So this list just gets more and more difficult as more of these competitors reach higher technical ability levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's getting better.
It's interesting too because, you know, I didn't really think of it, but the Flow Sub Only now has had is getting to be a longer history of competitions, right? So the first one we did 3-4 years ago now, right? So if you think about it, three or 4 years in jiu-jitsu terms is like you can go from white to purple belt, you know?
Yeah.
So people who were brand new, so the very first event was June of 2022. So we're talking 3.5 years. You know, in 3.5 years, a blue belt is now a brown belt, or a white belt is now a purple belt. Not always, but the level of everyone is going up over time. And so people that we've seen who may have been just starting out at our first tournament are now have the ability to crack the top level, which is also fun to see.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like we're seeing people evolve and kind of mature into their final form in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
As competitors we've seen throughout the years, like you said, and I think only time will show people coming up or down, and that's great. And a lot of these guys, even if they go down, like they're still a part of the conversation.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think the next 2 years is going to be really interesting for the men's division because I hope Yana Marco and Maxim will come back to Maine. I don't want them to just lose their positions in the rankings from inactivity as well, because that'll happen too if they get too busy to come down to Maine. Then we have to respect the inactivity there.
Yeah. So, and that's something that we had to do with Andrew Tackett. For anybody who's questioning, if you've been following along the Flow Sub Only for a while now, you're very familiar with the two amazing performances that Andrew Tackett put on. One, his first trip here was versus Maxim Cote, and he won via triangle on that one. And then his second event here was versus Sean Yadi Marco, and that was a much closer match. That went to overtime. It went through all 3 rounds of overtime. So we had, that was a 10-minute match plus basically almost 18 minutes of overtime.
Yep.
And Andrew won that via ride time. But that's, he at that point, Tackett was high level, but we all know the level that Tackett is at now. I'd love to have him back, and I certainly will be making an effort to do that. But at this point, being the champ at UFC BJJ makes that pretty difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
So
The Tackets are pretty notorious at this point for being very high level competitors.
yes, exactly. So not that we won't ever see him again, but for now, due to inactivity, I did remove him from the rankings. For anybody wondering why he's not on the list, just to make more space for more of our local competitors who are putting the work in more recently or more often. I could certainly leave Tackett at number one indefinitely, but that would be doing a disservice to the guys who support our promotion and work hard each event to try to put on a show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like, and it might be a fun event in the future if, say, somebody climbs the ranks and then Tackett shows up and we're like, all right, let's like run it. Let's run like number one versus Tackett. What happens?
Exactly.
And that could be a lot of fun.
And Tackett's the type of guy who is, would be game for just a random last second, sure, let's do it type of match,
Exactly. Yeah. So I feel like that would be the best outcome of this is to do the proper thing with the inactivity, but then also allow those random super fights in the future to happen where like, oh, he's in town, hey, do you want to do a super fight with our number one and just see what happens?
Exactly. I think obviously the fans would love that, so I think if I can possibly make it happen, I certainly will. I'll put it that way. But for now, like we said, we gotta remove him from the list. But I'll do my best to drag him back up here because he's a fun human being, a great seminar instructor, great competitor, probably the most entertaining competitor in the world right now. Along with maybe the Ruotolos. Tackett
like
and
anybody,
Ruotolo is like, that match is probably one of the best of all time right now.
I would say so. One of the best of all time. I think there's always a joke between coaches. I've had this joke going where like, if you're a brother team, man, you're built to rule the jiu-jitsu world. There's so many brothers, Tackett brothers, Ruotolo brothers, the Ryan brothers. I'm sure there's more I don't know. Meow brothers.
Mendez brothers.
Brothers, yeah.
No, it's
the Nogueira brothers in the UFC.
Yeah, up and coming the Core brothers, DeAndre and I forget the other one's name, but those guys are both very high level too. They both just fought at CJI, which make up a team, and two of them are brothers. They must be pretty good.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, well, our goal was to cover all things Flow Sub only and keep it around an hour, and we're about 40 seconds away from the 2-hour mark. So we're gonna cut it here. So just to finish up, Ben, just remind people where they can follow you and keep track.
Absolutely. By the way, thanks for having me as a co-host. I'm super appreciative of getting to chat about these things and really talk about stuff I love. But I'm Active Beer Geek on every platform that you can find me on, which is most every platform. So yeah, just look up Active Beer Geek. If you look up Benjamin Moore, you might find the paint before you find me. So do Active Beer Geek first.
Perfect. And if you're looking for me, you can find me at prof_Hayden BJJ on Instagram, or my academy, Flow Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or you can just follow Flow Sub Only to catch up with either of us. The new flowsubonly.com website, which includes all these rankings, all the rules we went over, upcoming events and things like that. Check out flowsubonly.com if you need any information. And don't forget to sign up on Smooth Comp for our October 26th event. It's got kids gi and no gi divisions, women's gi and no gi divisions, men's gi and no gi, absolute divisions for men and women's, and a brand new teen no gi absolute division. We're going to test that out for the first time. Should be super fun. So definitely, you got a high level teen competitor, sign them up and let's have some fun. And
Sounds great.
we'll see you guys in about a month.
See everybody in about a month.
All right, Ben, thanks for coming on the show. Talk to you again soon.
Talk to you again soon.